Hi guys, it's Mishel, Deception Bytes, and today is Friday, October 5th, and it's 9:31 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, I do apologize because I told you all that I would be uploading the video from October 4th's drops last night, but I had a very messy computer crash, and it really was a bad crash. I didn't think that I would be able to salvage my computer at all. In fact, that would have made, if I had not been able to salvage it, it would have made 4 new computers that I've needed since starting QTube videos. Are the two related? Well, I think so. But anyway, I was able to work this entire day on it, and I did get it up and running. Hopefully, everything's going to work as it should. So, let's, having said all that, let's dive into October 4th and knock that out. And hopefully, if my strength continues, I will do October 5th today as well, because we do have drops from today. Now, let's dive right in here. So the first post is an anon who is referring to Paul Sperry, his Twitter, and it says, breaking, the U.S. Senate has unanimously passed Senate Resolution 610 calling for the declassification and release of tens of thousands of pages of documents relating to Saudi Arabia and the terrorist attacks of 9/11. And this person says, holy, I really don't want to say that word. It keeps coming. Anyway, that was my sentiment when I found that out, that they were calling for the declassification of documents related to 9/11. I was pretty stoked. But Q, keeping us realistic, gives us a link to go out to, and he asks us who the sponsor of the bill is. And then he says, not what you think. Q. So let's go out and see what Q is wanting us to see. Now, I'll tell you right now, it kind of blew me away because the sponsor is Senator Blumenthal, of all people. Now, not the type of person that I would think would push for transparency of any kind, let alone 9/11. So yeah, that's a little bit perplexing to me, and probably to you as well. I don't know what to think of it, but I have to go back to what Q has said here, not what you think. Because this makes me excited when I see that. Well, any time that we have declassification, it's going to make me excited, because I think transparency is always a good thing, unless, it's going to, put national security in jeopardy or something. But that's, anyway, so I lost what I was going to say. Imagine that. I had something. It was right there. I was going to say it. It's gone. I don't know. Do any of you have it? Because I don't know where it went. All right. Sponsor. So the sponsor is Blumenthal, and Q tells us it's not what we think. Not what you think. So we don't have any more information on this, so I'm not really sure what to make of it beyond that. But it is odd. It's completely odd, and it should be kind of relegated to those to that room where we kind of put all these odd things that we don't know what to do with, because there seems to be a lot of them with Q, just little oddities that we don't know how they fit in the grand puzzle. We don't know where that particular piece goes, so let's just throw it in the spare room for now and keep going. Now, oops, I overshot my mark. Alrighty, now here is the next one, and it says, it is an anon, and this anon says, honored at the UQ, we are at the ready, and the anon morale is very, very high. Let's do this. And beneath, Q has responded by saying, united we stand, strong Together, we are honored. Anons are selfless, nameless, faceless, fameless, and fearless. We are grateful. Q. That speaks for itself, and we go to the next, which is an Anon who has posted the Punisher picture with the American flag imposed over it, and Q, the eyes, if you look closely, are Q's, and beneath the Punisher image it says, "Do it, Q." Excuse me. And beneath that it says, "Do it, Q." Excuse me, I had to take a drink. So that is pretty self-explanatory too. Of course, we are looking forward to the day when those who I guess we can call evildoers are held accountable for their crimes. And I'm hoping that that day is fastly approaching. And I'm hopeful that it is, but things don't work in our timing, and I've I expected when Q started posting a year ago, almost a year ago, I thought, a couple months, all this stuff's going to be tied up. Yeah, well, that was really naive of me, extremely naive of me, but at that point, I didn't really know what Q was, who Q was, or, well, I still don't know who Q is, but I didn't understand the movement like I do now. So, anyway, that day will come, and it'll come when it does. All right, now, here is the next Q post, and it is a link, and Q is telling us to read carefully. Q. All right, well, let's go look at it and read it carefully. All right. Collusion bombshell. DNC lawyers met with the FBI on Russia allegations before surveillance warrant. Say what? Yeah, that's big. DNC lawyers met with FBI on Russia allegations before surveillance warrant. You don't say. Congressional investigators have confirmed that a top FBI official met with Democratic Party lawyers to talk about allegations of Donald Trump Russia collusion weeks before the 2016 election and before the Bureau secured a search warrant targeting Trump's campaign. Former FBI General Counsel James Baker met during the 2016 season with at least one attorney from Perkins Coie, the Democratic National Committee's private law firm. The firm used by the DNC and Hillary Clinton's campaign to secretly pay research firm Fusion GPS and Christopher Steele, a former British intelligence operative, to compile a dossier of uncorroborated raw intelligence alleging Trump and Moscow were colluding to hijack the presidential election. The dossier, though mostly unverified, was then used by the FBI as the main evidence seeking a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act warrant targeting the Trump campaign in the final days of the campaign. The revelation was confirmed both in contemporaneous evidence and testimony secured by a joint investigation by Republicans on the House Judiciary and Government Oversight Committees, my source tells me. It means the FBI had good reason to suspect the dossier was connected to the DNC's main law firm and was the product of a Democratic opposition research effort to defeat Trump, yet failed to disclose that information to the FISA court in October 2016 when the Bureau applied for a FISA warrant to surveil Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. This is a bombshell that unequivocally shows the real collusion was between the FBI, and Donald Trump's opposition, the DNC, Hillary, and a Trump-hating British intel officer to hijack the election rather than some conspiracy between Putin and Trump, a knowledgeable source told me. Baker was interviewed by lawmakers behind closed doors on Wednesday. Sources declined to divulge much about his testimony other than to say it confirmed other evidence about the contact between the Perkin Coie law firm and the FBI. The sources said Baker identified lawyer Michael Sussman, a former DOJ lawyer, as the Perkins Coie attorney who reached out to him and said the firm gave him documents and a thumb drive related to Russia interference in the election, hacking, and possible Trump connections. Information gathered separately by another congressional committee indicate the contact occurred in September, the month before the FISA warrant was approved. A spokeswoman for the FBI declined comment. Well, naturally. Spokespersons for Perkins Coie and the Justice Department did not return a message seeking comment. I can't imagine why. The sources also said Baker's interview broke new ground, both about the FBI's use of news media in 2016 and 2017 to further the Trump case, and about Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein's conversation in spring 2017 regarding possible use of a body wire to record Trump. The interview was one of the most productive we have had, and it opened up many new investigative leads, one source said. Another said Baker could not answer some questions about FBI media contacts, citing an ongoing investigation by the Justice Department Inspector General into alleged illegal leaks during and after the election about the Trump collusion probe and other matters. These revelations illustrate anew how much the FBI and Justice Department have withheld from the public about their collaboration and collusion with clearly partisan elements of the Clinton campaign and the DNC, Fusion, and Steele that were trying to defeat Trump. The growing body of evidence that the FBI used, mostly politically motivated, unverified intelligence from an opponent to justify spying on the GOP nominee's campaign just weeks before Election Day, has prompted a growing number of Republicans to ask President Trump to declassify the rest of the FBI's main documents in the Russia collusion case. House Speaker Paul Ryan, House Freedom Caucus leaders Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes, veteran investigator Representative Trey Gowdy, and many others have urged the president to act on declassification, even as FBI and Justice Department have tried to persuade the president to keep documents secret. Ryan has also said he believes the declassification will uncover potential FBI abuses of the FISA process. Jordan said he believes there is strong evidence the Bureau misled the FISA court. Nunes said the FBI intentionally hid exculpatory evidence from the judges. And Meadows told The Hill's new morning television show Rising on Wednesday that there is evidence the FBI has had sources secretly record members of the Trump campaign. There's a strong suggestion that confidential human sources actually taped members within the Trump campaign, Meadows told Hill TV host Crystal Ball. You've got to be kidding me. That cannot be her real name. No way. There is no way that's her real name. Anyway, Crystal Ball. I'm sorry, that just took me by surprise there. I bet her husband says, "Oh, I'm so glad I have me a crystal ball." I don't know. Anyway, there's strong suggestion that confidential human sources actually taped members within the Trump campaign, Meadows told Hill TV's hosts Crystal Ball and Ned Ryan. Okay. John Solomon is an award-winning investigative journalist. Okay, well, that we don't need to know. We have read what Q wanted us to read. Interesting. There is a person in the media now with the name Crystal Ball. Interesting. Okay, well, let's go back. Having after we have carefully read that, which we did. So let's go on. Okay, let's go up to the top where this starts. Now, here, Q is referring to his own post here that we just went over. And beneath, and I know this is small, let me see if I can make it any bigger. There we go. That should help you. I mean, I can see it, but I know that you guys have trouble seeing it on your phones or iPads or whatever. So, alrighty. So underneath here, in response to the post that we just read, Q has put an old post from, well, no, actually, no, it is not an old post. It's a post, but it's referring to an older post here from August 9th. All right, and this says spy operation, fusion GPS, shell, and this, I assume, is Christopher Steele. And so you've got Christopher Steele in the middle here, who is passing information this way to Fusion GPS, and this name to No Name McStain. And then we've got, I'm sorry, we should not, I don't know where that came from, not to speak ill of the dead. It's interesting, isn't it? But anyway, Perkins Coie, shell 2. So these are both shells for basically the CIA, I would assume, FBI, CIA, and also the Washington Free Beacon. That is a shell as well. So, and you've got Christopher Steele in the middle passing information both ways. And underneath here, it says no name, but then there are others as well under here, I would assume, where the, you know, little pointing things are. I don't know what they're called. Anyway, so then in response to that, Q says, part re fusion GPS Perkins Coie now being revealed. Okay, well, he's asking a question, but really he's making a statement that it is now being revealed. The part that Fusion GPS and Perkins Coie played. So, yeah. And underneath here, this is a quote from the website that we just looked at, I believe. Former FBI General Counsel James Baker met during the 2016 season with at least one attorney from Perkins Coie, the Democratic National Committee's private law firm. Yes, that is a direct quote from that article that we just looked at. So, then he gives us two links, okay? So the first link is here. And I would assume that this is who he met with, because otherwise it would not make sense that Q was leading us here. Now, Michael Sussman is a partner, and I don't know too much about him. This is the first time I've been reading his name. But Michael Sussman, formerly with the U.S. Department of Justice, is a nationally recognized privacy, cybersecurity, and national security lawyer. He is engaged on some of the most sophisticated high-stake matters today, such as his representation of the Democratic National Committee and Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign in their responses to Russian hacking in the 2016 presidential election. This work was detailed in the best-selling books, The Perfect Weapon and Russian Roulette and Hacks. Oh, I'm going to rush right out and read those. No, I'm not. Michael has been ranked as a privacy and data security expert in the Chambers Global and Chambers USA directories. Ooh, big deal. As such, he was often quoted in the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, and other media. His legal work has been cited by investigative reporters in two other important books, Power Wars and Dragnet Nation. He has provided congressional testimony and litigated national security issues in federal court. Well, sorry, Michael Sussman, you're probably a very bright man, but the fact that you are representing Hillary Clinton doesn't make me have. I just wonder if I waited, if I would have an ounce of respect, but I don't think it would equal an ounce. No, not probably anywhere near. So let's go back and see what Q is wanting us to see next. So he wants us to know this is probably the lawyer that met with James Baker. Otherwise, why would he have sent us out to that link? Wouldn't make any sense to me. Now, this is the next link, and it's to the Twitter account of Bob Goodlatte. And let's see what he has to say, because I've already gone out and clipped it out for us to look at. As part of our joint investigation into decisions made by DOJ in 2016, today I subpoenaed Glenn Simpson to appear for a deposition. Oh, you know who Glenn Simpson is? I know I don't ask that in a condescending way at all. There are so many names involved here, and so many of the names are new to me that sometimes I have to go back and refresh my memory. And I had to go back and refresh my memory with Glenn Simpson. So that's why I'm asking. Don't think that I think that I'm, smarter than you and know more than you and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to come across that way. But Glenn Simpson is the founder of Fusion GPS. So there you are. Interesting. He's been subpoenaed. Yeah. Wonder if he'll perjure himself. Just wondering. Dr. Ford sure did. Don't know if she'll ever face the consequences of that. I doubt it. But she did. She clearly perjured herself. All right, let's go on. So that was that. And now we are up to here, which is a very long post, but one that Q obviously wants us to see. All right, now it starts here, and Q, of course, is making reference to the big post that we just looked at, and in response, he's putting this from Perkins Coie. And what is this? Well, let's go down. This is an email to Mr. Taylor regarding Fusion GPS. And let me see here. Let's go down to the part that is outlined in red, because I would assume that's what he wants us to read. Fusion GPS approached Perkins Coie in early March of 2016, and aware that Perkins Coie represented the Democratic National Committee, DNC, and HFACC Inc., Hillary for America, with respect to the 2016 elections, expressed interest in an engagement with the firm in connection with the 2016 presidential election to continue research regarding then presidential candidate Donald Trump, research that Fusion GPS had conducted for one or more other clients during the Republican primary contest. Interesting. Now, this is the next thing that, and I'm not exactly sure where it has come from, but Q put this in for our reading and perusal. No one knew just how bad the breach was, but it was clear that a lot more than a single filing cabinet worth of materials might have been taken. A secret committee was immediately created, including Ms. Dacey, Ms. Wasserman Schultz, Mr. Brown, and Michael Sussman, a former cyber crimes prosecutor at the Department of Justice, who now works at Perkins Coie, the Washington law firm that handles DNC political matters. Now, this should be on the next. Now, in reference to all this, Q says how the spy op regarding Russia hacking plus POTUS, Russia false narrative plus installation of Mueller was constructed. So he's telling us that he's revealing to us how the Russia hacking, the Russia POTUS false narrative that Russia or that Trump and Russia colluded together to win the election, and the installation of Mueller, which of course none of this would have been possible without his installation, really. So it's actually, when you deconstruct what they've done, it's actually quite intricate. It really is. They put a lot of thought in this. You can't put enough thought into it to get by Q and POTUS, but they tried. You got to give them that much. They tried. All right, so let's go and look at the first link here. And I guess it's just the link to the letter in its entirety, which I don't think that we need to belabor. Except that I'm not sure if it read this part, which is interesting. To assist in its representation of the DNC and Hillary for America, Perkins Coie engaged Fusion GPS in April of 2016 to perform a variety of research services during the 2016 election cycle. By its terms, the engagement concluded prior to the November 2016 presidential election. Okay, now let's go back and look at the next link. And I'm going to close down some of these links so that it doesn't slow down my computer. All right. Russian government hackers penetrated DNC. Oh, crap. Stole opposition. I can't read it because it's drives me crazy. Let me see if the link itself will tell me something. Russian government hackers penetrated DNC, stole opposition research on Trump. Well, as we know, there were no Russian government hackers. The name was Seth Rich, and what he did is pass it to Assange. So that is how it got out. It had absolutely nothing to do with Russian government hackers, and that has been proven time and time again. Now, underneath it says CrowdStrike. Britain, Australia, and New Zealand have accused Russian military intelligence of carrying out a worldwide campaign of malicious cyber attacks, including the hacking of the U.S. Democratic National Committee in 2016. Why now? Think declassification. So I guess they're still going. I don't know why Q is asking why now, because it has always been that way, except now they are, it seems to be in the media again with the Russia cyber attacks, so possibly that's why Q is saying, why now? Why are they putting that narrative out now? And we know that's a false narrative. It's already been proven false, so we don't even have to wonder, well, did they or didn't they? They didn't. That's a well-known and provable fact. So I guess Q saying, because of the upcoming declassification, they're putting that narrative back out there so that they can blame, the Russian boogeyman, right? We always have to have, if you've read the book 1984, which I recommend everyone read, really, and if you haven't read it in the last couple years, you probably need to read it again because we're living it in some ways. And they always had to have an enemy. That's what kept the people dependent on them. And I would say that Hillary and Obama and, the Bushes and people of that ilk certainly operated along those lines of keeping our focus on an enemy who kept changing. But they didn't want us to notice that. They didn't want us to notice that the enemy kept changing. So anyway, right now it's the Russian hackers. That's who everybody needs to be angry with, not Hillary Clinton, not, the Russian hackers. They are responsible for everything. Yeah, that's the narrative out there now. And Q says D5, which can, it can mean different things. I mean, people have said that because D is the fourth letter in the alphabet, that it could mean 45, meaning President Trump, because he's the 45th president. I don't think so. I think that this is meaning an avalanche, but Q does like double meanings, so who knows? But D5 is the, of course, most cataclysmic, catastrophic level of avalanche. It sweeps everything, just covers and destroys everything in its path, and I think that is what's coming. Personally. And then Q signs off, as he always does, Q. Now, let's go on. Oh, we didn't look at this, did we? Thank you for reminding me. Anyway, this is important because we all need to make fun of CNN and their false Russian narrative. And I like to do it every chance I get. UK blames, it's UK now. UK's blaming Russia. UK blames Russian military for reckless cyber attacks. Oh, those dang Russians and their reckless cyber attacks. What are we going to do with them? I don't know. Cut their thumbs off.
Tonight, top officials charged with protecting the nation's voting system.
Yes, I think that if we, the Russian hackers that don't exist, I think if they're caught, which they won't be because they don't exist, but if they are, maybe just remove their fingers maybe to the first knuckle to make it really difficult for them to type. That's what I would do. Anyway, they don't exist, so their thumbs and fingers are safe. London, CNN, Britain, Australia, and New Zealand. Now, wow, that's interesting because those are the Five Eyes, except for Canada. They left out Canada, but well, yeah. I'm sorry. I have been reading much about our, I don't consider him my prime minister because I consider myself American, but I was born in Canada, and right now he is the acting prime minister, and that's all he is doing is he's acting like a prime minister, but he's really not even good at acting like a prime minister. You realize he was a substitute drama teacher. His only two jobs, substitute drama teacher and ski instructor, and those are what qualified him to be our prime minister. Sad, very, very, very sad. But since he's a drama teacher, he can try to act as a prime minister, but he's not doing well. He'd never win any awards. Okay. Britain, Australia, and New Zealand have accused Russian military intelligence of carrying out a worldwide campaign of malicious. Oh gosh, they weren't just cyber attacks. They were downright malicious. Including the hacking of the U.S. Democratic National Committee in 2016. Wow! Oh, those dang Russians! Round them up, got off their fingers. British Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt said in a statement Thursday that the country's National Cybersecurity Center had found that Russian GRU intelligence services operatives were behind cyber attacks believed to have cost the global economy millions of dollars. Oh, wow. Yeah. Australia and New Zealand released similar statements. Well, naturally they would. Yeah, alleging that their own intelligence they have intelligence. Agencies had found, oh, the agencies, okay, because I didn't think that they had any intelligence. But anyway, had found, I mean, if they did, they wouldn't be blaming Russian hackers. Yeah. Britain, Australia, and New Zealand are all members of the Five Eyes Intelligence Sharing Alliance. Oh, doesn't that make it sound so like a little ladies' luncheon where you have the little finger sandwiches with the edges cut off and nice little tea in teacups? Like, doesn't that, what it, it's a sharing alliance. They're not spying or doing anything like that. They're sharing. Anyway, the GRU's actions are reckless and indiscriminate. They try to undermine and interface elections in other countries. They are even prepared to damage Russian companies and Russian citizens, Hunt said in a statement. Yeah, I'm not going to go on with this because it really makes me angry and it's all crap. Anyway, we already know that. We already have the answers, and we were given the answers to this a long time ago. This is one of the first things that Q delved into. So anyway, yeah. So in relation to its latest claims against Russia, the British government identified the following names and aliases associated with the GRU cyber attacks. Yeah, anyway, that should make it seem more real. So anyway, let's go back now that we know what their narrative is and why. And why now? Because the D class is coming up, so they need to be able to blame the Russians. Yeah. So anyway, the Russians are probably over there going, oh, those American cyber hackers, they've hacked into, they're probably using the same thing in their media, but probably not. I don't know. Anyway, let's go on. Why? Because we can. Now, the next one is this, and by Q, and it's a link, and then underneath it says nothing to see here. D5 Red October Q. Now, I did want to stop with this Red October bit because I think this could have many, many, many meanings. Because Red October, of course, could refer to, the Republicans having victory in the midterm elections. It could refer to that we're going to see riots or protests that are going to turn bloody. I know that I think it's Nike that has a sneaker Red October. I mean, when you look at it, if you type in Red October, you get pictures of sneakers, which kind of confused me at first. I was like, sneakers, red sneakers. Not sure why anybody would want red sneakers, but hey, to each their own. But it could refer to a lot of things. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention, and this has been mentioned before, Red October is a malware. It's a virus, or I guess that's what it is. It's a virus. It's some sort of malware. So I don't know. It could mean so many things that it's hard to really understand what he's saying, but we know that October is going to be cataclysmic in some regards because he's put D5 here. D5 Red October Q. Now let's go look at what it is that he wants us to look at. Yes, it's this. Russian official with ties to lawyer in Trump Tower meeting dies in helicopter crash. Yeah. That's big. And it's okay, hang on here. Russian official with ties to lawyer in Trump Tower meeting dies in helicopter crash. Yeah. A Russian deputy attorney general who is thought to have directed Russian attorney Natalia Veselnikaya in her efforts abroad, on behalf of Russia's government, reportedly died Wednesday night in a helicopter crash. Well, isn't that convenient? And you know exactly what I'm saying without me saying it. So, the Daily Beast reported that Sak Albertovich Karapetyan, I can't pronounce Russian names, I'm sorry, was abroad and unauthorized. Okay, I'm sorry. The Daily Beast reported that Sayak Albertovich Karapetyan was aboard an unauthorized helicopter flight which crashed near the village of Vonshenko outside of Moscow. And what does that even mean? An unauthorized helicopter. Weird. Okay. Karapetyan was reportedly behind Veselinskaya's global efforts to lobby lawmakers to overturn anti-corruption acts. Much of the U.S. Magnitsky Act, which passed in 2012, the U.S. legislation is similar to others around the world, which commemorates Sergei Magnitsky, a lawyer who died while trying to expose a $230 million fraud scheme in Russia. The acts have reportedly incensed Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Daily Beast reported that I can't pronounce his name. The man with the last name that starts with K signed a letter sent on behalf of Russia's government to a U.S. court in 2014, refusing assistance into an investigation concerning Magnitsky's death. The letter was drafted reportedly with aid from Veselinskaya. Okay, then 2 years later, she was involved in a meeting with President Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and former Trump campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, at Trump Tower. The meeting, which occurred during the 2016 presidential election, was reportedly set up under the presumption that Veselinskaya would present damaging information on Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton to the Trump campaign. Trump Jr. has maintained publicly that the meeting was a waste of time, stating that the meeting was focused on Russian adoption policy. Veselinskaya, however, has said publicly that the two discussed the Magnitsky Act. The Magnitsky Act. Oh my gosh, this has too much for someone with a former speech impediment. There's just too many Russian names in here. They've got to get them out. Everybody should have names that everyone can pronounce. Okay, I'm trying to get to the meat of this. Now, she has said publicly that the two discussed this Magnitsky Act during the meeting, alleging that Trump Jr. pledged to look into the issue after his father assumed office. If we come to power, we can return to this issue and think what to do about it. I understand our side may have messed up, but it'll take a long time to get to the bottom of it, she recalled Trump Jr. saying, speaking in an interview with Bloomberg News. Now, the meeting has come under intense scrutiny in special counsel Robert Mueller's ongoing investigation, which is seeking to determine if members of then-candidate Trump's campaign knowingly colluded with Russia to interfere in the 2016 election. Trump Jr. and other members of his father's campaign and administration have repeatedly denied having any ties to Russia during the election. Well, and I guess she can't be questioned now, can she? Unless they find, a medium or someone, which I would not recommend because it is forbidden for Christians. Anyway, so let's get out of this article that has too many really hard to pronounce Russian names, and let's go back to what it is that Q would have us to see. All right, now we are going to go on here. Now, this is a very interesting post. And it starts here, I do believe. And Q is making reference to earlier posts of his that contained these pictures. Now, these pictures are not that important. What they are is it's Apple product. We know that from previous Q posts. And then down below, Q is referring to this and adding more pictures. And these are from, these original posts were from 5/17, May 17th. And so let me see down here. And these are the same ones that we have seen in the past. And I think it was the conclusion that these had to do with Apple products that had, and there's the Apple Store. And this is, I believe, in China. And this is being loaded onto containers or, well, it would have to be containers or airplanes, I guess, cargo. And then now Q's going to explain, okay? We know that all of that contained some sort of a chip. We know that because Q alluded to as much way back when he, well, I guess it wasn't way back that far, it was May, but it seems like a long time ago. It seems like a very long time ago. And so anyway, let's Q is elaborating now, and he's going to answer some questions for us. All right. And this is from Bloomberg Business Week. The Big Hack, how China used a tiny chip to infiltrate U.S. companies. The attack by Chinese spies reached almost 30 U.S. companies, including Amazon and Apple, by compromising America's technology supply chain, according to extensive interviews with government and corporate sources. Now, if you remember back in May, Q posted those pictures, but it never really was answered. We knew that whatever the product was contained something, and it wasn't that whatever the product was, we knew that it was Apple product, and Apple is now being made, Apple products are now being made in China. And so, yeah, that is what we were looking at. We were probably looking at pallets of product containing this chip. Now, let me go back up here. I don't know why I lost it all, but I did. Okay. Yeah. So, in 2015, Amazon.com Inc. began quietly evaluating a startup called Elemental Technologies, a potential acquisition to help with major expansion of its streaming video service, known today as Amazon Prime Video. Based in Portland, Oregon, Elemental made software for compressing massive video files and formatting them for different devices. Its technology had helped stream the Olympic Games online, communicate with the International Space Station, and funnel drone footage to the Central Intelligence Agency. Elemental's national security contracts weren't the main reason for the proposed acquisition, but they fit nicely with Amazon's government businesses, such as the highly secure cloud that Amazon Web Services was building for the CIA to help with due diligence. AWS, which was overseeing the prospective acquisition, hired a third-party company to scrutinize Elemental's security. According to one person familiar with the process, the first pass uncovered troubling issues, prompting AWS to take a closer look at Elemental's main product, the expensive servers that customers installed in their networks to handle the video compression. These servers were assembled for Elemental by Supermicro Computers, Inc., a San Jose-based company commonly known as Supermicro. That's also one of the world's biggest suppliers of server motherboards. The fiberglass-mounted clusters of chips and capacitors that act as the neurons of data centers large and small. In late spring of 2015, Elemental staff boxed up several servers and sent them to Ontario, Canada for the third-party security company to test. The person says, and I know where they were sent in Canada, they went right straight to Ottawa. Nested on the server's motherboards, the testers found a tiny microchip not much bigger than a grain of rice that wasn't part of the board's original design. Amazon reported the discovery to U.S. authorities. Sending a shudder through the intelligence community, Elemental's servers could be found in Department of Defense data centers, the CIA's drone operations, and the onboard networks of Navy warships. That will become important. And Elemental was just one of hundreds of Supermicro customers. During the ensuing top-secret probe, which remained open more than 3 years later, investigators determined that the chips allowed the attackers to create a stealth doorway into any network that included the altered machines. Multiple people familiar with the matter say investigators found that the chips had been inserted at factories run by manufacturing subcontractors in China. This attack was something graver than the software-based incidents the world has grown accustomed to seeing. Hardware hacks are more difficult to pull off and potentially more devastating, promising the kind of long-term stealth access that spy agencies are willing to invest millions of dollars and many years to get. Having a well-done nation-state level hardware implement surface would be like witnessing a unicorn jumping over a rainbow. There are two ways for spies to alter the guts of computer equipment. One, known as interdiction, consists of manipulating devices as they're in transit from manufacturer to customer. This approach is favored by U.S. spy agencies, according to documents leaked by former National Security Agency contractor Edward Snowden. The other method involves seeding changes from the very beginning. One country in particular has an advantage executing this kind of attack: China, which by some estimates makes 75% of the world's mobile phones and 90% of its PCs. Still, to actually accomplish a seeding attack would mean developing a deep understanding of a product's design, manipulating components at the factory, and ensuring that the doctored devices make it through the global logistics chain to the desired location. A feat akin to throwing a stick in the Yangtze River upstream from Shanghai and ensuring that it washes ashore in Seattle. Having a well-done nation-state level hardware implant surface would be like witnessing a unicorn jumping over a rainbow, says Joe Grand, a hardware hacker and the founder of Grand Idea Studio, Inc. Hardware is just so far off the radar, it's almost treated like black magic. But that's just what the U.S. investigators found. The chips had been inserted during the manufacturing process, two officials say, by operatives from a unit of the People's Liberation Army. In Supermicro, China's spies appear to have found a perfect conduit for what U.S. officials now describe as the most significant supply chain attack known to have been carried out against American companies. One official says investigators found that it eventually affected almost 30 companies, including a major bank, government contractors, and the world's most valuable company, Apple. Apple was an important Supermicro customer and had planned to order more than 30,000 of its servers in 2 years for a new global network of data centers. 3 senior insiders at Apple say that in the summer of 2015, it too found malicious chips on Supermicro motherboards. Apple severed ties with Supermicro the following year for what it described as unrelated reasons. Yeah. In emailed statements, Amazon, which announced its acquisition of Elemental in September 2015, Apple, and Supermicro disputed summaries of Bloomberg Businessweek's reporting. It's untrue that AWS knew about a supply chain compromise, an issue with malicious chips, or hardware modifications when acquiring Elemental. Amazon wrote, "On this, we can be very clear. Apple has never found malicious chips, hardware manipulations, or vulnerabilities purposefully planted in any server. That's false. Apple wrote, they're saying it's false. It's not. It's true. We remain unaware of any such investigation, wrote a spokesman for Supermicro, Perry Hayes. The Chinese government didn't directly address questions about manipulation of Supermicro servers, issuing a statement that read, in part, supply chain safety in cyberspace is an issue of common concern, and China is also a victim. The FBI and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, representing the CIA and NSA, declined to comment. The company's denials are countered by 6 current and former senior national security officials, who in conversations that began during the Obama administration and continued under the Trump administration detailed the discovery of the chips and the government's investigation. One of those officials and 2 people inside AWS provided extensive information on how the attack played out at Elemental and Amazon. The official and one of the insiders also described Amazon's cooperation with the government investigation. In addition to the 3 Apple insiders, 4 of the 6 U.S. officials confirmed that Apple was a victim. In all, 17 people confirmed the manipulation of Supermicro's hardware and other elements of the attack. The sources were granted anonymity because of the sensitive and, in some cases, classified nature of the information. One government official says China's goal was long-term access to high-value corporate secrets and sensitive government networks. No consumer data is known to have been stolen. Okay, we're pretty much done anyway, but this does go on. And we know, because of what Q told us before, this fills in the gaps. It does for me anyway, because that was one of those things that we had kind of put off in another room because it was kind of hanging out there, and I knew it would come back around at some point, but didn't know when, and there was just too many holes that hadn't been filled in. So this actually gives us a heck of a lot more information. Now, how it all connects, I don't know, but let's go back and see what Q has to say. Now, he's telling us what the most important part of this. Elemental servers could be found in Department of Defense data centers, the CIA's drone operations, and the onboard networks of Navy warships. That's important. Multiple people familiar with the matter say investigators found that the chips had been inserted at factories run by manufacturing subcontractors in China. Now, we've already read this part, but that's the most important part right up here. And let me see. One official says investigators found it eventually affected almost 30 companies, including a major bank, government contractors, and the world's most valuable company, Apple Inc. One country in particular has an advantage executing this kind of attack. China, which by some estimates makes 75% of the world's mobile phones, 90% of the PCs. But that's just what U.S. investigators found. The chips had been inserted during the manufacturing process. Now, this all makes sense now to me why Q, back in May, showed us the Apple factory in China, okay, showed us the pallets of whatever they were, iPhones, computers, whatever, and showed them being shipped. That's why. Because they knew about this back then. So, interesting. In Supermicro, China's spies appear to have found a perfect conduit for what U.S. officials now describe as the most significant supply chain attack known to have been carried out against American companies. And Q says, the more you know. Q. Now, he has just filled in a huge gap there for us, because what Q does is he kind of comes and he shoots off a couple of Q drops, I guess, and he provides us with information, but for everything that he tells us, it, in me at least, raises like hundreds of questions. serious questions that sometimes it's hard to find. Now, sometimes you can find the information on your own, and sometimes you just got to wait for Q. This was one of these situations where you just had to wait for Q. And so Q has now helped us to understand what all that was about back in May that he was posting. And let's go on. Why is he bringing it up now? There's a reason. There's always a reason with Q. Always. Well, here it is. Here's the reason. Because Q says here, think Navy ship crashes. Bigger than you know. We are active. Navy ship crashes? Well, that seemed odd, and especially, and let me see down here, onboard networks of Navy warships. Oh, so what Q is telling us is that these ship accidents are no accidents. That's exactly what he's telling us. Now, I asked myself, Navy ship crashes, have there been a lot of Navy ship crashes? I really did ask myself that because I don't know where I've been, but I was not aware. And so now, knowing that, okay, Q's telling us that these Navy ships have that chip in them, so he's connecting the two things, the Navy ship crashes and this chip. And then I went out and found this. Now, this is not by Q. This is just something that I found for my own because I wanted to, hang on here. I wanted to see how many Navy ship crashes there had been. And where have I been? And if you didn't know about it, where have you been? I don't know, but wherever we were probably together. Why are so many Navy ships crashing? And this is August 22nd, 2017. Why are so many Navy ships crashing? I'm going to put my hand up. Teacher.
The U.S. Navy is expected to call for a one-day operational pause. This is hours after the USS John McCain collided with an oil tanker, and this is to investigate, we understand, the series of events that have taken place this year. CNN military and diplomatic analyst, retired Rear Admiral John Kirby, joins us now. Admiral, what does this mean, a one-day operational pause?
Well, what this is they're going to give fleet commanders across the Navy a chance over the next couple of weeks to take one day at their discretion, because they all have operational commitments they have to meet. I mean, they don't want to stand in the way of the Navy's mission readiness every day, but they want to take one day over those 2 weeks and give fleet commanders a chance to take a pause, a safety stand down, if you will, a chance to not operate at the unit level and take a look at how they're training, how they're preparing, how they're standing watches.
Well, obviously, it's not going to make any difference how they're training and all that stuff because it's this chip. And I think it's interesting that the SS John McCain or whatever it's called was involved. It really is. But it's interesting. I didn't know this was a problem, but the U.S. Navy is facing difficult questions about the health of its fleet in the aftermath of the USS John S. McCain's collision with an oil tanker east of Singapore on Monday, the latest in a series of naval accidents in the Pacific. Well, that kind of blows me away. I don't know about you, but I mean, I wasn't aware of all these naval accidents, and now Q's telling us exactly what caused them. That's pretty darn explosive, if you ask me. No pun intended. All right, let's go back. I mean, this is, when you think of it, this drop right here is huge. All right, so let's go on to the next. And go up here, and we've got this by an anon who posted this statement from the president on the 8chan board, and he said, new POTUS tweet with this, meaning this was tweeted from Donald Trump's Twitter account and included in the tweet. And Q responds, did we hit 000? We do try, Q. Now, what this is, now Trump tweeted this out, interestingly enough, at 12:17 p.m. on October 4th, yesterday. I noted the 17. Now, I'm not sure what, what Q meant by this, 000. I'm sure I think he meant the coordination between Trump tweeting and his posting, but I don't really see that it coincided, unless I'm really missing something, and my gosh, I could be, and probably am. But let's look at this anyway. Statement from the president on the national strategy for counterterrorism. As your president, I am committed to protecting the United States and its interests abroad from the threat of terrorism. The national strategy for counterterrorism that I approved today will help protect our great nation, enhance our national security, and guide our continued effort to defeat terrorists and terrorist organizations that threaten the United States. Under my leadership, the United States has accelerated efforts to defeat terrorists. Working with coalition partners, we have decimated ISIS in Syria and Iraq. Likewise, I ended United States participation in the horrible Iran deal, which had provided a windfall for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and its proxies, funding Iran's malign activities throughout the... I think he means malignant. I don't know. Activities throughout the world. Importantly, I have also secured historic increases in defense funding to rebuild our nation's military. The national strategy for counterterrorism is an important next step. It outlines the approach of the United States to countering the increasingly complex and evolving terrorist threats and represents the nation's first fully articulated counterterrorism strategy since 2011. It provides the strategic guidance needed to protect the United States against all terrorist threats while simultaneously fostering the agility to anticipate, prevent, and respond to new threats. Guided by the National Strategy for Counterterrorism, we will use all instruments of American power to protect our great nation, and we will defeat our enemies with the full force of American might. And it is signed, of course, Donald Trump. And so that happened yesterday, and Trump tweeted it out, and then Q responded here at 15:20, 48, and he said, did we hit? I think he means Delta there. I don't know. We do try, Q. So that is what I assume that Q meant. Let's go on. Now, I think this might be all of the, yes, I think it's all the same post. It is a long post because, first of all, Q is responding here to what we just looked at about the Navy ship crashes and the microchips and all that. And this is just a copy of that post because Q is referring back to it. And beneath, he puts this, reminding us of a post of his from May 11th, where he said, Facebook is listening to you 24/7, 365 days. Literally. So when Q says Facebook is listening to us, they're actually listening to us. Yeah. F9 algorithm. Are they recording safe housing, metadata collection, building 8, DARPA, China, 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 Q? So he's saying, are they taking all of this stuff that they're recording and safe housing it somewhere? Is this some sort of metadata collection that they have going on? And he makes reference to Building 8, which is connected to DARPA, Building 8. We went over this. Actually, Q has brought this up on a few occasions, to tell you the truth, about Building 8 and DARPA. It's very, very top secret, whatever they're working on. And he's relating it to this, what are they doing? Are they recording safe housing? Well, when he asks a question, it's usually a statement. So, yeah, that's what they're doing. They're recording and safe housing all of this stuff. So, yeah, who knows what they have on us? Good luck. I don't know why they'd be interested, but anyway. And then beneath that, Q responds with a post from February 22nd that says, clowns revealed in China /other 2010 187. Now, we know that there were CIA agents that were killed in China because of information that Hillary Rodham Clinton sold to China. Yeah, because that's what she does. Anyway, so sold intel, yeah, that's exactly what she did. She sold intel, and it resulted in the death of American CIA, of course, they're American CIA agents in China. And Hillary Rodham Clinton open source server, missing emails, CrowdStrike, granted access, betrayed, only the tip. This will be made public soon. Q. And we know how she did it because she put it on her server and they just came and got the information. Basically, there was no hacking or anything involved at all. So, yeah, then in response to that, Q, nope, that's it. That's it. Sorry, that goes on to the last one that we just looked at. So Q is acknowledging all of this, and he put all of these posts together, that it's all connected. All of this stuff is connected. The Facebook, listening, the algorithm, China, Hillary selling intel to China, which resulted in the death of several, I think it was 10, if I'm not mistaken, it may even have been more, CIA agents in China. So anyway, it's all connected, and I am looking forward to more information coming out because I'm pretty fascinated by all of this. It's huge. It's beyond me because it's just massive in scope. And I think that they're going to need a lot of manpower and a lot of brain power on pulling all of this apart because it's a very intricate web. And I think that they're making amazing strides because they're even able to know all this stuff. It's amazing, the information that you and I have now because of Q, and only because of Q, that we could never have found on our own. And some of it we found on our own, but only because Q pointed us in the direction to search. Now, the next one is this picture of Jeff Sessions, which I like because he just looks like a, I don't know, he's always got that little twinkle in his eye or something, like, I know something you don't. And this picture is called Pain. So he will absolutely be involved in delivering the pain. There is no doubt about that. And let's go up to the next one. Let's hope we are nearing the end here. Wow, there's a lot of posts, and this video is going very long. But, all right, let's come down here. So we have Jeff Sessions there, and then we come up to the next, and it is a picture of, yeah, okay, now I remember. And Q is showing this to us, and he's saying, the swamp is fighting back. So let's look at what this is. We are going to be clear. Where Russia acts in an indiscriminate and reckless way, we will be exposing them. UK Defense Secretary Gavin Williamson reacts to revelations of Russian cyber attacks. Now, this does not seem to be the link that I want at all. I do not believe. So let's go back up here. That is not that link, and I don't know where this came from and why it's there. But that is not sure how that got in there. But anyway, I don't have the link to this, but what it is a lawsuit against Trump by the people of the United States, New York. Yeah. So Q is essentially showing us this lawsuit that has been instigated on behalf of the people of New York against Donald Trump. And beneath, Q is saying the swamp is fighting back. So yeah, all of that stuff comes up, like this lawsuit and everything. It's all part of the swamp fighting back. Now, then the next one is this link to Twitter, and it says a declass coming, narrative shift in full force. UK, Australia assisted rogue elements of the US government to take down a duly elected candidate president. Q. Okay, this is, I bet you, the link that we just looked at that I didn't know what it was for because it didn't make sense. It didn't go with the last post. All right. So, and we've already discussed this. That's what their new narrative is. Russian hacking again. Yeah. Russian hacking. They, didn't work the first time, but let's try it again. All right. So there's that. Then up here, we have a post, and Q says, Roger that. I think he meant Roger that. I don't know. But VIP Patriot USSS granted entry to many. Q. Now, what is he talking about there? Well, let's go look at this status and we will find out. Brought my mom to the rally. We in the building. Q. Now, Q is calling out this VIP Patriot. And it says Q sent me. So he got he has a t-shirt on and his Make America Great Again hat. And he's taking a picture there at the rally. So let's go back. So he says, yeah, Roger that, VIP Patriot. The U.S. Secret Service granted entry to many. Q. So they must have let them in with their t-shirts and stuff on, which leads me to think that there's a reason for that, right? So we're going to find out. Here's the next post, and it says, Anons ready? Q. Then the next one says, memes ready? Q. Then it says, memes ready? Q. Are you ready to see arrests? Are you ready to see pain? Are you ready to be part of history? Q. Okay, now, this is the 5th. Now, I am missing a Q post. Yes, I am missing a Q post because otherwise, let me go out to Q here. Memes ready, that's where we were. And this is where we were. Now I can show you that document of the lawsuit being brought, the people of the state of New York by Barbara D. Underwood, Attorney General of the state of New York, against Donald J. Trump, Donald J. Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, Eric F. Trump, and the Donald J. Trump Foundation. Well, good luck with that, Barbara Underwood. Good luck with that. So let's go back here because I believe I have missed an important. No, I guess not. I don't know. Either it's been taken out or I don't know. That's weird because I seem to remember something very specific here. Unless it was... Okay. All right. Yeah. It's actually on the 5th. Q continues on the 5th, and it will make this about this guy's Twitter account and wearing the t-shirt and everything make sense. So I won't worry about it anymore. I just want to be sure that I'm giving you the right information as I understand it. So that's it. Now, this has been a very long video, and I apologize, but there was a lot to cover, a lot. Anyway, I will end it there, and I've already begun to work on the October 5th, so hopefully I'll be able to get that uploaded tonight. No promises, but I'm going to try my best. Talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful evening. Stay well and stay safe.